Hello YouTube, NeoPioneer here again. So yeah, today I want to talk a little bit about should you raise chickens? Yeah, so I know a lot of people might not have the space for it, or it might be illegal in your area, um, or it might be like a gray area. For me, I did have a time in my life when I wanted to raise chickens, and I was kind of just getting into this kind of this lifestyle, and you start following the people and watching the YouTube videos, and raising chickens looked really cool. So I lived in an area. It was probably like a gray area, for if it was legal. I didn't really have any neighbors that could see them or anything like that. But yeah, it was a fun project. You have to do it right. You have to plan for it. You can't just go out and get some chickens and then expect things to work out. You have to do a lot of prep ahead of time. So, you got to make sure that you have a place, a brooder for them in a heat lamp where they can kind of grow up for a couple weeks, and then you kind of have to have their coop ready, that they're going to stay in, and some nesting boxes and all that, and have your feed and have a plan and all that. And for me, it was a really great experience. So I had an extra bedroom. I put a tarp down, and I built a brooder to put them in, probably more than I needed. You know, got the chickens, and put them in there with the heat lamp, and had done all the research, and had some paper towels for them to walk on top of the pine chips so they didn't splay, didn't with their small little legs. And you gotta watch out for like poop butt, like a lockup. You might have to clean their butts when they poop. But yeah, like we only lost one of them, and that's kind of the first part of animal husbandry, right? Like raising animals, is that like you're gonna lose some of them. And yeah, like what do you do when they stop producing? But yeah, we kept them in there, and I had the coop built. I hadn't really built the fence yet. So then I started building the fence, and they spent a couple weeks in the brooder, and they started getting big enough to put outside in their coop, and put them in their coop and locked them in the coop for the first couple weeks, for about a week actually. I can't remember, it was a while ago, but I think it was about a week, because you want them to make sure that they know that that's where they stay. So then, yeah, started letting them out into their run, and they're having a grand old time. And by nature, they would just they would go back into their coop because they knew that's where their home was in the evening. And then you go out in the evening, and you close up the door, and then everything kind of starts again the next day. Like the sun comes up, and like their coop, I could hear it from my bedroom. And you could tell, like when they started to get up, and you go outside and you let them out of the coop and feed them and water them, and you can set up some automated systems as best you can. But then after a certain amount of time, they start to lay eggs, and that's the really cool part of it. Like by then, you've already put in a fair amount of time. It's been a while. I can't remember how long it is. I want to say it's at least like 6 weeks or so, maybe even a couple months by the time that they start laying. And usually they'll have a very productive 2.5, 3 years, and then they start slowing down. Like the ones I had, they would lay an egg a day. And a chicken has a certain number of eggs inside them that kind of come down their little chicken egg tube once a day, and there's a finite number, and it slows down as they get older. That's why a lot of the factory ones, farms, like you kind of cull the chickens after 2.5, 3 years, because it's not as cost effective to keep them around, because their production goes down. But yeah, once they started laying, we got our first egg. That was really exciting. Then in the mornings, you know, like they'd wake up and they sing this really cool egg laying song. Like as they're laying the eggs, so you could tell that one was in there laying the eggs. And then yeah, I had about 13 of them, and I got about a dozen eggs a day. Of course, by then you have too many eggs, so you gotta find friends and family that want them, or I took them to a local co-op and sold them there. But yeah, I'd eat eggs every morning. You'd have fresh eggs. Every once in a while, you'd get a double yolker. But yeah, the whole process was a very spiritual thing for myself. I know that I say that a lot on here, but chickens they're pretty cool, you know, to just to go out and kind of watch them doing their chicken thing, scratching around, chasing a mouse around the yard, or whatnot. And yeah, we really enjoyed it. It was a good experience. It was nice having you learn what fresh eggs really are, versus what you can kind of get in the store that's months old. But unfortunately, you know, I mentioned in another video, I took a job and I had to kind of sell everything and move to Alaska. So luckily, just word of mouth, I found somebody that wanted the chickens, and I kind of pretty much gave them the coop and the chickens, and they went out to live on a 10-acre farm. And you know, I was able to pass it along, and it was a great experience. You know, that, you know, like when you do have chickens, like unless you have an automatic door opener, you know, you're going to be involved with them every day. You know, like winter comes, you're going to make sure that you put a flock block out, you know, something so they don't get frostbite on their beaks. You know, like it's a member of the family, but it's one that produces food for you, which is a very very cool relationship. But yeah, you know, the thing that sucks is like if you do want to get out of the hobby, you know, what are you going to do with the chickens? Are you going to call them yourself and turn them into stew chickens? And you know, I never went down that road. I always wanted to do meat birds, but I never wanted to set up all the processing for them. But you know, that's kind of the next evolution, right? Once you get egg layers, then you want to get meat birds, and you want to fill your freezer. And yeah, some people call it the gateway livestock. You know, once you get a couple chickens, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll get a goat, and you know, it kind of goes from there. But to me, it's a good thing to at least do once in your life, and kind of experience the whole life cycle of that. Yeah, so hopefully that was helpful, and take care. Bye.